My uncle took revenge on behalf of my parents. As the title gives away, this didn't happen to me, but is the story of how my uncle avenged my parents. My parents had me when they were plenty young. They were not teens anymore, but had barely left that age bracket. My mom and dad met in college. That was also when they had me. So while my parents were in their courses, I mostly stayed with my grandparents. The whole family lives in the same area, and the college was not that far away. My parents were still young and liked to go out with friends on occasion. When the following happened, I was a few years old. On occasion, they frequented a bar. A drunk guy there groped my mom and did not take a no as a no. My dad intervened and stopped the guy, and half an hour later all seemed forgotten. The music was loud, the bar crowded, and then someone in the crowd hit my dad with an empty glass pitcher square in the face. He was bleeding profusely and collapsed, but in the press, semi-darkness, and over the music no one knew who did it. My dad got taken to the hospital. He had a broken nose and a heavy concussion. He also couldn't see who had attacked him, and his memory between the alcohol and being hit in the head was also very fuzzy. Of course, they had considered the guy who had harassed my mom, but they didn't know him, nor did they see him anywhere leading up to the moment, let alone have any evidence. So they pressed charges against unknown, but there was virtually nothing anyone could do. But then a few days later, the piece of crap that had harassed my mom approached her on campus. Turns out, he was in the same college as my parents. He made a few veiled comments and left little doubt that it had been him that hit my dad in the face. And the piece of garbage let my mom know that my dad next time should mind his manners, and that the little touching he had done didn't hurt anyone and wasn't that bad. And if he wanted to do it again, he would, and maybe more. And then the piece of crap went on his merry way. My mom was horrified, of course. She went home and told my grandparents, my dad, his parents, but no one could do anything. It was a he said, she said deal after all, and my mom hadn't even gotten the guy's name. My mom cried a lot at that time and didn't know what to do. She also was afraid of going to classes or out alone. I honestly only remember that time very scarcely. I was just a little kid, but I can remember my dad in the hospital and with his broken nose, and my mom crying a lot. My dad, of course, was just as angry and humiliated as my mom. No one knew what to do, and everyone was treading on eggshells around each other. But that is where my uncle enters the stage. My uncle, my mom's brother, lived on the other side of the country. He was a PI, and he was, of course, the last to hear the full story. But the moment he heard someone had threatened his little sister, he was on his way home. After hearing the full story, my uncle knew it would likely be hard to get the guy on the harassment, the assault, or the threats. Having no evidence, my uncle had my mom point the guy out from afar on campus. It took a few days to find him, but then my uncle started to stalk that piece of human filth. My uncle took sick days, all his vacation, and invested every second possible to find out everything about the harasser. My uncle even approached the pig in another bar and became drinking buddies with him. Over several weeks, my uncle had uncovered all manners of illicit behavior: possession, consumption, and distribution of drugs, theft, and a few other misdemeanors and small-time stuff. And my uncle could have put him away for that, but my uncle always said when asked about that if he sent the asshole to prison, it would be for molesting my mom and hurting my dad. And that is what he did. One night while out with his new buddy drinking, my uncle made the idiot piss drunk, and they landed in my uncle's motel room. He got the harasser to incriminate himself on video, rattling off a list of illegal shit he was up to. My uncle had, of course, pretended to be a crook too. Among the stories asshole told was the story of how he groped some chick and brained her dude with a pitcher of beer. Now, something needs to be said. In my country, of course, recording someone in secret is illegal, and under some conditions, like if the police does it, it is not a permissible piece of evidence in court. But as a PI, my uncle knew that laws for that exactly. But paradoxically, the situation is different if it is not only audio, but also video. And my uncle had the asshole on camera confessing. The next day, my uncle turned himself into the police, with all his collected evidence, because secretly filming people was still a crime. Though the video could be used as evidence in court, as my uncle was not affiliated with the police or any other governmental agency. When the criminal trial and the civil trial were over, the asshole got 6 years in prison and had to pay damages to my mom and dad. And my uncle got slapped with the equivalent of a $2,000 fine for secretly filming the asshole. Money well spent, he always said.